All right, have and have not fans, time to take a look back at the episode Searching for a Mother's Love. Now, I will admit that I did enjoy this episode a little bit more than last week. I believe I gave the season premiere a 7 out of 10, and I want to say that I feel like this episode deserves an 8.5 out of 10. I feel like that's a strong number for an episode like this. I feel like we did cover a lot of ground, but I feel like one of the biggest issues with this maybe it's just me, I feel like this episode was a bit too fast paced, just as last week's episode was a bit too slow, and the fact that that episode was like not even 40 minutes long, where this episode, I believe it was a couple minutes longer, maybe it was 40, I had to double check on that, but I feel like we covered a lot of ground very, very fast. I feel like the first instance of this was the fact that Benny and Mitch showed up like within the first 30 or 40 seconds of the episode, right before the title sequence. Not to mention Veronica got rescued from the car before 911 and the paramedics or firefighters even showed up to the scene. Another scene that really just flew by was when, Jim barged into the hotel to the front desk, literally pushing other customers aside. And then Broderick is like, you know what? Hey, I'll give you this key under Mr. David Harrington's card or whatever. And next thing you know, Jim got the card in his hands and then he's watching news in the bed. I'm like, okay, that was quick. I didn't see that coming. And of course, it was good that we got a lot more Oscar in this episode. Of course, he's drawing Wyatt out. I wouldn't say out of hiding per se, but pretty much in order to get his plan enacted. And it's good to see he has multiple plans in place in order to secure Wyatt's inheritance for Jim. And it was kind of funny because we only saw Oscar for like 20 seconds last week, when he was seeing Quita on the camera trying to use the ATM card. And then we have him in he wasn't in there 20 minutes on Tuesday, but you know what I mean, he was actually in there a lot. I did like the scene between him and Candace at the bar, kind of talking about the whole Charles thing and him making good points. It's like, again, you have the golden ticket for, how much first ladies make, and the fact that they play their cards right, with endorsement deals, public speaking engagements, book deals. You can make a fortune over the years, but Candace wants that quick buck. And I still say that even if Candace did agree to go with Charles and whatnot, I still say she'll be willing to throw it away for the next con that drops at her feet, because she isn't in it for the long haul. She just wants the quick buck. And I believe it's not even about the money with her. It's more about the thrill of conning people and the excitement and the the rush. So I feel like when it comes to Candace, she's going to throw it away. But I did like the scene when those two almost connected in terms of, oh, you got information I need, and I got information you need. Him wanting to know about the whole Quita situation. Well, her wanting to know about the Quita situation, and Oscar wanting to know more about. Well, actually, I'm sorry. Oscar kind of wanted to know what Candace knew about Quita, but thankfully Oscar already has everything in motion. It's just that Candace's information would help. Just as Candace wants to know more about, well, who you working for? It's like, Jim Cryer. So I wonder what she'll do with that information, because remember, she wants revenge on Jim. So I'm curious as to what will happen with that. If Candace will somehow sabotage. I don't think she'll do that on purpose, but I feel like she'd do it just to, get back at Oscar and also at Jim Cryer. She even said, like, hey, how much are you getting from this? It's like, because if Candace worked with Oscar, then she would make money. I find it interesting that she was willing to work with Oscar in order to get back at Quita, because obviously there's some bad blood between those two to begin with. But it just goes to show, like, Candace, if you agreed to work with Oscar, you'll be making a lot more money than you are now just robbing these guys in your hotel room that Oscar's paid for a month. So I'm just saying. Now, when it comes down to the next scene, well, actually, one more thing I need to bring up. What is up with these characters dropping incriminating evidence in public? Like Oscar even, well, I mean, it doesn't matter to him because, hey, he doesn't have anything to do with it. Just talking about how you got that Harrington boy rotting in jail for a murder that you and I both know you committed. And, again, it's cool to see Oscar has eyes and ears everywhere. But also the fact he's dropping that at a freaking bar where there's everybody. This isn't like, it's late at night at the bar. There's only the bartender and those two, but we're talking like a crowded bar. So I don't know. Maybe I feel like that's a recurring trait that's going to keep going on in this series. I swear, if I was in the show and I committed a crime, I would make sure that nobody knew about it, because they would just drop that information in front of anybody without any hesitation. And now let's see here. We're talking about Hannah and the new handyman. I forgot his name, but I don't know. I even did a video about this, about will Hannah ever accept Catherine's help or even learn to accept help. It is okay, so she talked with the handyman about, there's a house that's a third of the price of the one that Catherine gave her in an area close to where Hannah used to live. How is Hannah going to afford that? That's my question. And also, this guy seems pretty cool. So I like how Catherine was like, oh, he's pretty cute, huh? So I'm guessing that Catherine tried to be like a third wheel to set those two up. That'll be interesting to see. But obviously, she was a bit taken aback by the whole, I got to go to the morgue to get stuff for, that was in Quincy Jr.'s pocket. So, man, Hannah can't catch a break. But even when she does have a blessing right in front of her, she doesn't want to recognize it. So it's really hard to know how to feel for her. Then we get to the whole, let's see here. Let me just recap through my notes. Yeah, I mean, I really don't need to say much about Justin and Jeffrey that hasn't already been said. It's just creepy seeing those two. I mean, the way that Justin is pretty much having his way with Jeffrey. I mean, the Me Too movement speaks volumes when it comes to Jeffrey Harrington. Not to mention, I pray that each episode we will not have to go through Justin Harrington. All right, face forward, arms behind your back, and then they had to walk to the interrogation room. I hope that doesn't happen every single episode. There's like 5 to 7 minutes wasted on that every time. Hopefully that's not a recurring thing. All right, then we get to the next scene where we have, I will say that it was interesting to note that Melissa and Benny actually met and talked for the first time. So that was pretty cool. I ship those two. Well, I mean, honestly, I'd ship myself Melissa more than Benny, because, hey, Antoinette Robertson, wow. But I'm just saying that it was interesting that she didn't want to go to the hospital, and it's just like, I want her to die. It was, what's funny? The way that Melissa was saying that I was hoping the car blew up, I hope she died, and then the paramedic's like, what? Oh, she didn't say anything. The way she was just running information out of her mouth was the same way that Kelly was running information out of her mouth after shooting Travis. Like, no, don't call the hospital. Don't save him. I want him to die. Except it seemed more natural with Melissa because she acted it out better than Kelly did. But, that's another story. But I did do the video about that woman that's with Benny. So, I mean, I did say that it might be Melissa based off skin tone, but who knows? We'll have to see. But we also have to think about the fact that when it comes down to Veronica in the hospital, it's safe to say that she is not going to be laying down, because as she told Jim, when is the devil ever laid down to rest? So she's still going to be causing some trouble even from the hospital bed. All right, so we talked about Quita, Justin, Oscar, Candace, Benny. Well, I mean, I've also done a video about Broderick and Rocky, so that video is coming out soon. That has to do with the whole Broderick scheme to get back at Catherine. Well, get back at Jim Cryer by stealing his wife away, but also taking her for the money. But I do find it interesting that, that the hotel is a front for the prostitution ring they have. So my question is, does that prostitution ring consist of females that Jim has hired in the past? Are they people that Candace or Erica may know about from their own operations from their side of the street? So I'm really interested to see how intertwined that operation is to what we've already known in the Have and Have Not show. I don't feel like a prostitution ring is brought up unless it's already related to something that we know about in the past. So I am looking forward to that. But overall, an 8.5 I feel is a solid score for this episode. I feel like the first episode was definitely lacking in a lot of different areas in terms of pacing, being too short, not covering enough with the car wreck. And I will admit that some fans did make a good point. It's better that the wreck was handled quick and easy instead of wasting 4 or 5 episodes with Veronica in the car. I will admit that is a valid point. However, I'm still sore over the fact that they kept hyping it up in terms of, oh man, is Veronica alive? Did she survive? But overall, we didn't even get 5 minutes of the car being flipped over, Melissa getting out, Veronica crying for help. So I really was a bit ticked off by that, but that's just my opinion on the case. But overall, just to make sure I'm not missing anything, yeah, Jim scheming with Oscar to get information on Sally, that's another video. And I also did a video about Anna, you know, whether or not Wyatt will possibly relapse as a result of his girl now being gone. So if I missed anything, let me know. But the thing is, with these episode reviews, they're kind of like a quick recap, because as you already know on this channel, I like to do branch off videos where I can mention something in an episode review, but it deserves this entire video that's like 5 to 10 minutes long. So with that being said, when it comes to searching for a mother's love and the letter that little Quincy wrote about, you know, to God about his mom and grandma, obviously that's the whole searching for a mother's love, because in the letter he said, please let my mom come take care of me and love me the way I love her. So obviously the cliffhanger ending was the title of the episode, Searching for a Mother's Love. And now it looks like Benny's going to be searching for a mother's mercy, because Hannah caught Benny walked into the hospital holding hands with Veronica. So with that being said, what did you think of the second episode of the season? I thought it was 8.5 is pretty fair. I think that's a pretty good episode. It was a bit too fast paced though, but I hope that in the upcoming episodes, the season of the Haves and the Have-Nots finds its stride, where it's not too rushed, it's not too slow. We cover a lot of ground, but not so much so where you have to look up and it's like, whoa, 1 minute we were here, now we're there. So let me know your thoughts on the episode itself. Please subscribe to the channel, because trust and believe I do have a lot more videos coming out before next Tuesday.